on how much you buy. So the tax is always like 40%, which means that it increases or decreases depending on if you're like buying more or less Robux on an item. So if it's only like 2 Robux, it would only be taxed 1 Robux. But if it's like 100 Robux, it would be taxed by roughly around 40 Robux. So you would only get 60 Robux. So now that we're done with the transactional things, let's talk about the macro economy, how the economy functions, how it keeps working. So let's start. So we explained the value, the transactions, and what takes place in the Roblox market, but we're going to talk about how it functions as a whole. So a person buys Robux. That's the starting place. That's the starting place. A person buys a sum of Robux, you see. Maybe like 100, 1,000, 10,000, doesn't matter. They buy Robux, and that Robux is now in circulation. So the person buys Robux, they could spend it on literally anything on Roblox. They could buy hats, they could buy game passes, they could buy shirts, make shirts, doesn't matter. So once they make a shirt, for example, if there's 2 types of products. There's a developer product and there's a Roblox product. A Roblox product is basically the products made by thanks for the donation made by Roblox, you see. Like Roblox made hats and Roblox made what do you call it? Like items. For example, that's just the default Roblox hats that the Roblox made, like before UGC. Those are Roblox hats. Those are not developer products. Those are Roblox products. Think of Roblox as a form of government, you see, and the developers as companies in the economy. Now, this would be classified as a mixed economy, in which the companies and the developer, and the state, the Roblox, both have somewhat of a control on the economy. Now that that's out of the way, let's talk about developer products. Developer products are products that the developers, the game developers, the shirt developers made, you see. These products are made by developers for normal consumers or other developers to, buy. And once they buy the thing, once someone with Robux buys like a shirt, a pants, they receive Robux. The developers receives the Robux, but only with a tax included. So once the developer receives the Robux, they could do a few things with it. Number one is to put it back into circulation, buy more hats, buy more items for themselves. Or if they get to 100,000 Robux, they could go to DevX and request a DevX. Now the DevX rates are less than normal Robux rates, as I've explained, to make sure that Roblox is profitable and continues operating. The DevX rates, I ignored that guy. So, ignore that guy. So the DevX rates is actually only 300 USD per 100,000 Robux, which is not that worth it, to be honest. So So normally, if you were to buy 100,000 Robux, it would usually cost around $1,000, maybe less if you have premium. But you see, in DevX, Roblox, rips the developers off, but not technically because they're still paying them. They could have just added an option to not like pay out or make it even less, but they still pay out the developers. Now, now that we got DevX out of the way, we can talk about the next subject, and that's how. Let's see here. Before we continue, any questions on my lecture? Okay, so we've already explained the basics. Now it's time to move on to the complex things. So, for example, how do we actually know the proper value of a Roblox? Sure, Roblox can determine its value. It's controlled by Roblox, but how do we actually determine the actual value of it? Which means what the community thinks a single Robux is worth. Now, the answer is you can't, okay? You can't get opinions from tens and billions of players for what a value of a Robux is, because everyone's going to have a different opinions. Like people with millions of Robux, like game developers, they're not going to think a single Robux is worth anything. They're going to think it's worth like 1 cent. But like people playing on iPads, like who only have like 10 Robux, think a single Robux is worth like, I don't know, $1, $10, just more to them than the developers. Now, so we know that it's impossible to actually determine value of Robux because the community cannot properly decide on a proper value. But we can, however, determine the value of purchases, which means like the purchases made. Now, with this on, with this known, let's move on to the second part. This is not going to be related. This is about the economy, like parts of the economy. This is a part of the economy. It's hats, limited hats. They might have fallen out of favor for the recent, years, but previously it was a big market in Roblox. Now, hats can be limited hats are hats that first go on sale in a limited quantity. So, for example, if you only sell 100 apples, that's going to be a limited supply. A limited hats follows the same principle as this. Like, let's say this hat goes on sale for 100,000 for 100k Robux, and there's only 10 of it. Now, each hat is one out of the 10 hats that exist. Now, as the years go on, obviously some hats are going to be deleted or accounts go inactive, which makes the hats rarer. Now, this is still a problem with supply and demand most of the time. For example, if a hat has around 100,000 copies and it's over 10 Robux over the course of a year, obviously it's not going to be worth that much. It's only going to be worth 100 Robux at most. Or hats that went limited but were previously free, like the egg hunt hats. Those things aren't going to be that valuable either. As you can see on the catalog, it's only around 100 to 500 Robux. Now, but these expensive hats, they're different, you see. These expensive hats are like the Dominuses, the the hats that have low quantities and high price. Because most of the Dominuses, you see, most of the Dominuses, not some, like the Halloween Dominus and the Ice one, those aren't valuable. Mainly because they recently went on sale and they had a much larger quantity than the rest of the Dominuses. Now, also, time also affects the value of these hats. Obviously, a hat from 2008 is going to be worth more than a hat from 2013. But a hat from 2013 is going to be worth more than a hat in 2018. The value goes up as the supply drops, which means the hats are becoming more valuable as time, continues. Now, for example, let's move on to the second part of the market, which is trading. Trading is a fickle subject as it is very complicated, even more complicated than the normal hats and how to explain it. So trading has a few terms. I'm not a trader myself. I used to trade, but I don't really dabble in it anymore. So trading is when an entity, an individual, offers an item or numerous items, maybe even some Robux, for another person's item. For what gain? I don't know. Maybe like they want to keep the item. Maybe it go better in the future. Maybe they just want to sell it for Robux. Well, it's their problem, but this individual wants to buy the other individual's item, but they don't want to buy it on the Roblox market. They don't want to buy on the catalog. They want to, actually trade for the hats that they currently have. Trading can be a way to gain better hats. It can also be a way to actually get the hats that you want that aren't actually on the market. Now, I'm not going to go in depth about trading because I don't really know about trading. I'm more of like the macro economy guy. I'm talking about the entire market, not the trading market. But let's continue. So, speaking of the oh yeah, what else do we have to say before we continue? We're done with the second section, so you guys can ask some questions and I'll answer them. No questions. No, I dabble in it. I dabble in economics. It's just what I do. I dabble in it. It's pretty simple. It's a simple concept, but apparently a lot of people here don't understand that Robux cannot be given away that easily. First of all, if you were to give away Robux, first of all, it would ruin the economy. If everyone just gives away Robux, that cannot be done. Market activity must be stimulated, you see. If everyone would just give each other Robux, that makes it a communist society, which we do now want. You see, this is a capitalist game. You trade Robux for items. You don't give away Robux. So next time someone asks you for Robux, you just explain the entire market structure to them and tell them how if you give away Robux, the economy of Roblox would not continue. And you must actually offer services or an item to actually make the market stimulated. Anyways, let's continue. What else do I have to say? That's pretty much the entire market, unless you want me to talk about the occupations and the employment of developers, which I will do. I will do. So speaking of those, there are multiple types of developers that I would say no, because currently the market of trading is very inflated, and it's just not profitable currently. Unless you actually start with a pretty good hat, like if you forgot like a 2008 hat in your like old account, then yeah, maybe trade that off. But currently it's just not worth it. I mean, if you want to trade a shag to the dominance, it's gonna take like at least 4 or 5 years. I'm not really a trading guy myself, so you might want to ask someone else about it. But like, if you want to trade it off for Robux right now, then maybe that would be a good idea. But if you want to trade for better items, you can. But it's gonna be really hard to find good deals because no one would obviously trade you like a item that's worth more for an item that's worth less, unless you want to trade your item that's worth more for an item that's worth less, but that you might think it might rise in value in the future. Okay, so speaking of developers, the developers have different categories and different audiences to market to. So let's start off with the most biggest, the majority group of developers, the game developers, the scripters, the builders, the modelers, doesn't matter. They develop games. Now these developers could be commissioned or they could actually just be actively working on the game, like they are actively being paid for their work. So, example of this would be development groups. They have multiple developers working on a game to get it out and possibly make some Robux. Because ultimately, that's the goal of every developer nowadays, to make Robux. That's what they want. They want Robux. Now, if some developers can be like, "Oh yeah, but this game I made it for fun." No, they made it for Robux. There is no making games for fun. Why would you make it? Why would you do anything for fun? It's all about the money, the Robux, the earnings. It's all about that. Now, let's talk about the audiences these game developers market to. Their audiences.